Hey guys, welcome to the stream. It's Friday. Hope you're all well and looking forward to the weekend. We are working on our effects for our little old teleporters. And what I had an idea with is that we have a ring of fire. Okay? So, with that in mind, what we want to do is adjust this particle effect. Okay, so if we get people in to the stream and they want to see how I made this, then let me know in the chat and we can have a look at that. But in the meantime, what we're going to do is, you'll notice that our fire doesn't go actually out the way. It kind of goes up the way. Now, that should be that it is moving in the X axis, okay? And basically, in this case, X is kind of up. Okay, and we have a torus, which is basically our ring. Okay, and what we actually want to do is tip this 90 degrees, I believe. Right, and now you'll notice that it is now going that way, which is fine because in our teleporter we have actually spun it round. So you'll notice that it is at a weird rotation. Okay, now this is kind of weird because this should not actually look like this, right? But when we come to here, we can rotate it actually we should be rotating it that way. Okay, and it should be slightly smaller. Okay, so call it 0.27 by 0.27, and it's still a touch too big. 0.25, 0.25, and it kind of works like that. Right, but kind of doesn't. Now our issue here is we actually don't want the flames to go up. But I don't think, or I don't know if we're actually going to be able to affect this how we want, right? But basically, it's going to be on the Z. That's more like it. Right, so we've kind of fixed it-ish. Now, if we change that, and what did we do there? We did something. It looks like we switched off the flames. Now, that does not look, yeah, they're coming out that way, right? So that's not actually what we want. So it looks like that should be 0. And maybe this one. And that might be actually minus 60. And that is kind of more like it. Except for the fact that it's not quite right. Or is it? Let's have a look at it in the game. And that actually does look pretty decent. Right? It's just that it's not quite there. I'm going to lock this. I'm going to go 0.26, 0.27, I'm going to go 0.275, and that's kind of right, except for one thing. I think the fire's coming out too far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this acceleration force to minus 25. Okay, now that looks a heck of a lot better, except for one thing, which is the spawn rate. And I'm going to pump the spawn rate up to 300. And that gives us a very nice effect. We might have to bring that down even a little bit more. In fact, yeah, we do. It is coming out too far. Still, it's close, but no cigar. So we're going to say minus 15. Right. In fact, let's actually change this down to minus 5. Press play, and we'll see how that looks for us, right? And that looks kind of good. Now, what we could do is we could go to the colour, and I'm not 100% sure if I want to change this, to be fair. Right, I'll tell you what we're going to do. What we're going to do is we're going to get this effect, right, and we're going to copy it again. Right, we're going to open it, and this is the wrong one, so I've just basically copied the wrong one. Right, so what I'm going to do is delete that, and we're actually going to copy this one. Right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to open that one, and I'm going to muck about with the colour here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump up the blue, and I'm going to bring down the red. Right, and we're going to bring the red down, and that might do us better, right, because it's not going to be so fiery, because it wouldn't make sense to have fire per se. Right, now the other thing we'd want to do here is bring up the blue. Right, so now that we've got that one and we kind of know what we're doing with it, we can drag that up, drag that up, drag this down, and drag this down. Right, and the next thing, well, let's have a look at this first, okay? Now we're going to set our particle system to be basically disabled most of the time, but you can see there that this works pretty good. Right, and all we actually need to do here is give it a little zip on the X, right, to lift it up a bit. So if we go to our acceleration force and give it a 3, right, that looks pretty good to me. And then finally what I'm going to do, yeah, that's nicer. And even at that, right, we could actually bring this down a bit from -5, right, down to like -1 or something. Or it's maybe a bit. Hi, Legend Sprite. Yes, Legend Sprite, I did finish my menu. I'll let you see it in a minute. I'm just working on this super duper teleporting mechanism. We're just finishing the look of it. Right, and we do like that. Right, now one of the problems is in here. Right, now this is the other teleporter down here, so when we looked in that one, we've seen this one. When we look in this one, we see the other one. Okay, that's pretty cool. And the one thing I'm going to do with this, right, is it's not, we need some more light. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to add a point light to the teleporter itself so that there's always light at the teleporter. Right, because obviously that's pretty blooming dark, right? Now we are looking at the other one at this point, and I'm going to have to turn down the. So the point is that you'll be able to jump in here, right? And jump to this point over here, which is what you're seeing in the actual teleporter, right? So you can see we're looking down that corridor, right? Okay. So yeah, I'm fairly happy with that. Fairly happy, fairly happy. Okay, Sprite, do you want to see the menu? You want to see the menu, don't you? Right, so we'll go through the menu plus the gateway level to show you the what's been changed basically. So we've now got options, and you've got all these, and these all work, and we have gameplay options now, right? You can change difficulty, you can look up and down, head bob, enabled or disabled. We're going to enable those two, then we'll close that. High scores, we have a high score table, and we're also ready to implement why, thank you, kind words indeed, Legend. I appreciate that. My kind of streams, it isn't meant to be like for, well, it's meant to be for developers, but it's also meant to be for ordinary people that have never done any development and are just looking into Unreal Engine. So there's nothing I do here that is beyond the capability of any normal person who wants to dive into Unreal and learn a bit, you know? Like, all this stuff isn't beyond the comprehension of most people, right? So now, when we jump into play game, we come in, you can notice now that you can look up to a certain degree, right? I've got this clamped, right? And there is a head bob, right? And now the way it works is if you've unlocked a level, the painting will come up with the name of the level and you can enter it, right? So those two are like the first two levels, and this one is just a picture, so it does nothing, right? But that's another little effect added. And as I said, we're working on the teleporter, right? And what I gradually do is I think of what I want in my head, and then I gradually just make it happen, right? By bit, adding little bits, refining little bits, changing little bits, and gradually getting the effect that I want, right? Until basically I'm getting the actual effect that I want. Now, and that happens with everything. That happens with menus. It happens basically with absolutely everything that I do, right? None of it usually starts off as the sort of final thing. Right? I gradually work on things until I have the final sort of solution in the end that I'm happy with. So it's the same with menus. I gradually work on them until I get what I'm actually looking for, even though they might start off crude. I just work on them until they work, and they work the way that I want. Now, the idea of what I'm going to do here is, this isn't finished yet, right? And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to change this material, right? I'm going to change this material until I have like a fade out on the edge, right? So I'm going to be changing the material, and what I'll show you, best way to do it is show you, right? What I want, and I don't know how to do it yet, but I'll work it out, because I'm rubbish at art programs and stuff like that. Right, we have our material, right? And basically the opacity is a circle with these bits made see-through, right? But what I want is a gradient at the edge, right? So basically it gradually fades out, so it's not like a hard edge. You can see the hard edge like round here. But I don't want that. I want that to gradually fade out. Right, now, I know it's not hard, right? But I'm just not very good with art packages. And it will probably take me about a day and a half to work it out. But I'll work it out, and that'll be us. Right, there was a few problems that I had yesterday, or before yesterday in fact, with the count for our PCs, but I've solved that as well. So basically I've been rebuilding the level, even though I actually in the end didn't need to. But done, so let's not worry about it. So I can basically, what I do is during the streams as well, I just gradually add to this. And if you just add a little bit at a time, I'm going to end up with a level, right? And at the moment we're on about, what, 75 pickups, right? So let's say we're going for a target of about 300 pickups. Then we're not that far off, really. Once I start doing some straights and stuff. So like I can just basically bring that in, set it to 0, probably the best idea. And we've set this up wrong. I'm going to delete that, and then we're going to change this back to 50 so that everything stays in line. Then we shall duplicate that and do our little bit here. Then we shall add a turn. Right, and we're going to spin it 90, then reposition it. Then we'll do another one. And every time I add one of these, by the way, basically it becomes another piece and another speed thing to collect, right? So even though the turns are basically just for me to break up the straight levels, they actually then still become part of the whole, right? So if I save that, right, and then run and pick up the minimap, we're now up to 76 pickups, right? And then what we can do is we can add another one of these, and then that's going to get spun 90 degrees that way. And then we're going to do that. And in fact, what we'll do is we'll do another one of them. And it's actually going to go like that. And if we spin it to there, then we can actually make it to there. And then we can add a straight. And then what we'll do is we shall add a door. And we shall spin our door around. Right. And then what we can do is we can use our door end, which we made yesterday. And that does not seem right. So I'm going to delete that. Apparently I'm not going to delete that. Right, we're going to let that do its thing. That went weird there because I wasn't really looking at this stuff. And it appears that it doesn't want to delete this. Right, it's now eventually doing something. Right. Okay, back to where we were. We're doing a door end. Zero that. And this was a part I made last night that allows us to shut one end of a door. Right, and we can see it within the program as well, and I'll show you how we see that. Right, now this one is actually done. That's the correct one, right? But if I select this and select show A, you can see that I can close one and not the other, and my dog's being a pain in the ass. Okay, so now we need a couple of straights. To come off the two doors. Right, we can check that these are in line a couple of different ways. That's one way of doing it. That looks perfect. And we can duplicate that, and we'll actually spin this 180. Then we shall drag that in there. And there we go. We have our two different ways. Right, this part here looks strange, but basically goes round there, back there, along here. Then we have a door here and a door here, right? And with that in mind, we have upped our count to 83. So you can see that our pickup count just naturally goes up as we gradually build it out. There's no really a reason, or there's no huge reason to try to plan out a particular number of parts or pickups. If we just build it, it's basically just going to get parts and pickups, right, as we do it. So yeah. And I think we'll do a little bit of a straight here, and then we'll branch off again. Oops. Hi Burstix, how you doing? Nice to see you, mate. Hope you're well. Hope you're going to have a nice weekend. So now that we have that, we are going to have to do a turn here, right? Because we don't, as I said, we don't want things too straight, because we don't want the player to be able to see too far ahead. Okay, now for two different reasons. One, for gameplay reasons, right, so that they can't really see which way to go. And the second reason is that we want them to not know where the monsters are too far away, right? So we want there to be, we don't want this to be a particular jump scare game, right? But there is the possibility that you can get a jump scare, right? If you go around the corner and you don't know a monster's there, and then it's there, then yeah, you're going to get a fright. But we're not going to program in any, well, I've not got it in mind yet that I'm going to program in any actual jump scares that are definitely going to happen every time, right? Or at least if they are, or if I do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that they don't happen all the time, right? And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a T-junction. Right. And bye-bye, hi. I thought somebody said bye there. Legend, I thought you had said bye, I thought you were off, but obviously not. So what we're going to do now is grab that, go like that. We are going to spin it 180 degrees. And to be honest, I have absolutely no idea where any of this stuff is going to go, right? So I just build stuff, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, it doesn't. Right. But since the sort of general idea and best way to describe it is Pac-Man in 3D, then basically, yeah, it really doesn't need to make any sense. It's just we're going to have lots of interconnecting corridors that the player has to travel through. The map going to be too expensive? No. Good evening, Mr. Spock. How you doing? I don't know what you mean by expensive. Basically, I'm using the same 5 blueprints all the time, right? If I wanted to be even more smart about it, I could turn these into instance meshes, right? But I know for a fact that it just doesn't affect performance at all, right? It doesn't matter. It affects the editor slightly, right? It'll slow down as I add more and more stuff to the editor. Oh, and Mr. Spock, here is the latest teleporter. So we have this effect going round the teleporter. As I was explaining, we've got a hard edge to the material for the actual camera to go on, but I'm going to change that so that it fades out, and then basically our effect is going to look a lot better, right? But yeah, pretty cool. And you'll notice it's now seeing out the other one, right? It's not showing the same one, it's actually showing the one that it is actually linked to. So this would work if you wanted to do like security cameras, So if you're doing like a, let's say a stealth game, and you wanted to show like a security room where all the cameras are, then this would work, right? Basically a little bit of mucking about in my system and this would actually work, right? You could actually display all this stuff on a different, like on a little TV screen or something, right? So that's all working now, and we're gradually building up the level. So Legend Sprite, I'm going to ask you, what do you mean by, is it going to be too expensive? I'm not 100% sure I know what you mean by that. Actually, we're going to have to spin this. No, it's not going to be too long. It's going to be, right, here's the issue, right? We're going by resources, no, because it's only using about 5 blueprints, right? It's only using these blueprints here, that's it, okay? Now, if I wanted to be super duper duper about it, then I could turn these into instance meshes, right? Now, that would probably end up being a little more complicated than what I need it to be, but my very first ever learning project on Unreal Engine was not too dissimilar to this very concept, right? And it ran absolutely fine. Okay, now at the moment, if you missed the whatchamacallit, if you missed the stream on it, I actually did a stream where I showed me packaging up the game, right? And I'm going to show you the results, right? So how big do you think it is? How big do you think this game is when it's zipped up? Have a guess, right? I'll give you a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on, guesses. Right. Okay. Let's have a look. Okay. Now, this is the game here, right? This was packaged up the other day. I'm not going to do it again. I'm just going to zip this up, right? So normally what I do is I get the Windows No Editor, rename it. Then we'll rename it as Chronicles of a Vampire Hunter, right? And then if we zip it up, now this is where, right, see when you're uploading it to Steam, right? If you're going to upload it to Steam, right, you zip it up first, okay? So basically I'm going to compress it, zip it up, and then this is what I would actually upload to Steam, right? And you'll be surprised how small it is, considering the fact that all Unreal projects start off actually pretty damn big, right? Even a blank project, if you try to basically build it out, Right, there you go. 700k. Under 700, no, 700 meg. Right? It is basically 678 megabytes. Which, as you know, is tiny for a game of today. Right? So, no, I could build this out 10 times the size of this, or even 100 times the size of this, and then just do some sort of level streaming. But I don't need to, because what you got to remember is, right, we only need a certain number of pickups, right, and we only need the level to be so long. It doesn't need to be absolutely massively huge. That isn't the point, right? If you think about it as Pac-Man in 3D, right, a level of Pac-Man isn't huge, right? So at the moment, if I pick up my mini-map, there is 93 pickups, right, in the map at the moment. Okay? So basically, if I make it 3 times bigger, 300 pickups is way enough, right? That's going to be way enough. The point isn't for it to be big, it's for all it to be like joined, so that it's like Pac-Man but in 3D, right? So like there's interconnecting corridors going off in different ways, but they all kind of connect up again at the end, back to the sort of centre, right? So it's just basically giving you multiple levels of going around the same parts, right? And then giving you ways to get away from monsters. So you don't want it for there to be one big long straight where it's either you go left or you go right. You want bits that you can break off on a door and go down here to escape the monster and then find another way around, stuff like that, right? So yeah, that's the kind of the idea here. But no legend, this is nowhere near going to be that big. It's going to be 3 times the size, right? But it's actually not that big when you look at it. It's not. Look. Right? When you think about it, it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Let's say it's only 20 by 20, right? To walk from here to here is probably only going to take you a maximum 30 seconds, right? So in reality, it's actually very small, right? It's just maybe the scale that's throwing you off a bit. So what I'm going to do is we're going to keep building a bit, and then if you guys are interested in how basically I do particles, or let's not say how I do particles because I don't, right? What I really mean by that is how I make particle systems out of particle systems that are already there. Okay, because the effect I did there comes out of the starter content, except I change it a bit, right? So it no longer looks like the sort of the particle system that it was. Okay, so we have a door there, and we really probably want a turn here. As I said, I'm trying to keep it so that there isn't too many straightaways for the player to look down and see, like, far too far in the distance. Okay? And as I said, you can do this in a load of different ways. I'm just building this off the top of my head, right? But there's programs out there that'll basically do you a random, like, maze, right? And what you could do is you could just copy it by using the sections. If you were doing it in the same way that I'm doing it here, that I've got these different sections that I can plug into each other to make a maze, right? So yeah, got to do one more thing. Give me 1 second. Right. So, as I said, if we press play now, we can find out how many pickups we've got. 97, right? Now, if you consider it, if 97, and it's only that size, right? This is where you start, by the way. So once we connect all this part up and build some stuff in here, we're probably going to be up to about at least 150, right? And then if we also build some stuff here, right? We've got to build up, actually got 3 doors here, 1, 2 and 3. So this one can maybe join up over here, this one can go straight and down here, and this one can go down here. And we're easily going to be making a level with about 300 pickups, right? And 300 pickups is way big enough. When you think about it, if you play Pac-Man, what? How long does a level take you? A minute? Minute and a half? Right? So, really, we should be aiming for something kind of similar. Or something a wee bit longer. But you'll see the Scottish there actually jumped out for a minute there. The wee. Right, so what I would normally do in this instance would be, let's say I move this one, right? And then basically what I can do is just plug a door straight in, right? So all I do is spin it 180 degrees, then plug it in. And there we go. And then this one, we can spin that to there, drag it over, and then just line it up basically. Right? So now what we could do is we could join these up, but have like a T-junction or something, and then this will basically connect up over here as well. Well, no, it won't, because that's the start. But we'll build a little bit of maze here, and then this is going to join up over here as well to some degree. Okay, and on that, guys, I'm going to go and grab a cigarette. Now I am 3 subscribers short of 500. So if you're enjoying the content, hit the like and subscribe, and check out the description for Discord and Patreon and my previous game on Steam, and I shall be back in 2 minutes. I'll be right back. Okay, guys, we're back. Let me know if there's something in particular you want to see. I've got no problem showing you guys a few things if you want. If yeah, it's a turn, which is kind of what we want over here. As I said, even just basically joining most of this stuff up now is going to take me probably to about 300 pickups, right? And probably a straight here is going to do us. And we need to donate to that. And there we go. Right, so that's going okay. And I think we'll add oh yeah, and by the way guys, don't underestimate what the players are going to say about the game as well, right? There is a distinct possibility that like this level might end up being too twisty turny, right? So never be afraid of the fact that you might have to change something, right? Even if you've lovingly created it over the space of days or hours or however long, right? You always have to listen to the players. Right, I might build this and think this is the perfect level, right? And then the players turn around and go, no, actually it's crap. Right? And if 99% of your players think the level design is crap, then it's probably crap. And you need to take a look at it, right? But this game really isn't too much about level design, it's more just about making a level playable. And as I said, with this particular part here, right, we screwed that up. Right, and it's had a moment to itself there. Right, so we'll just do that again. And we're just going to leave this, as I said, this section is going to be just a connector to this, to a section over here, which is going to connect over here as well, right? We want to give the player as many options as possible to move between what we would describe as certain areas of the map, like let's say, you know, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest and centre. The objective of the game is to pick up all of the pickups. The easiest way to describe it is Pac-Man. It's Pac-Man, but a bit scarier than Pac-Man. Right? You can look at the teleporters as basically the edge of the screen in Pac-Man. Right? Now, we have got, you can't eat, obviously you can't eat the vampires, right? But you can stun them, right? Which basically gives you the same sort of gameplay effect, that it takes them basically out of the game for a certain amount of time. Now, there are other little bits to this, which is as you pick up the pickups, the speed, normal speed, what I call speed pickups, right? As you pick up those pickups, you gradually get faster and faster. So you begin to move through the maze faster, right? But that only lasts so long, because there's always a timer. Now this is in the game, by the way. There's always a timer slowing you down, right? But pickups speed you up, okay? So fundamentally what you've got is, if you pick up all the pickups, then you gradually get faster and faster. Right, now if you keep picking up speed pickups, you don't really slow down, because you're always going to get another boost to your speed. Right? And I really want to spin that 180. So there are a few little tweaks. To the Pac-Man gameplay. Now, the other thing is, I want the monsters to have like different behaviors, right? So, like, one of the monsters will be different from another monster in the way it behaves, and it might have like a special thing that it can do, right? For example, it might be able to go invisible for a short amount of time, or it might not appear on the map. Right? So there will be tweaks to the system, but it's just going to be basically a sort of thrill thing, you know, a bit of jump scariness, a bit of kind of general tensiony with the music and the lighting and all that stuff. You know, the type of thing that streamers like playing for their audience to watch them get a fright and stuff, but also it'll be fun to play yourself, because not only will you have that sort of thing, but you'll be playing for like a high score and speed and stuff like that. So yeah. Now, we shouldn't need to worry too much about the gameplay loop, because we know that basically Pac-Man is a tried and trusted gameplay loop. That's interesting. Hang on a second. Can I do this? I don't think I've ever... I think I've been thinking about this one for a while, that I need to basically create... Yeah, I can do this. What am I talking about? Right, so that gives me a door and that gives me a T-junction, right? So I can now pull off of this side. So the objective of the game, if I press play, we'll find out how big our level now is. We've got 114 pickups. Okay, so legend. There are three types of pickups. There's the mini-map one, which you just saw, which allows you to see the mini-map. There is this one here, which is the basic pickup. And you'll see the counters on the left-hand side. At the moment, we've picked up 0, right? And we've got 114. Okay? So we need to get to 114. So as you pick them up, you'll see that they disappear from the minimap, right? And your counter gradually goes up, right? Now, monsters are going to be chasing you, but at the moment, I've switched them off, right? So basically, your mini-map is like your Pac-Man map. If you were looking down, well, basically it's the same thing, right? So you need to basically pick up all these things, right? And as I said, you're going to be chased around by bad guys, right? Now, as you can see, we got 26 pickups and then it reset, okay? Now, we've still got our speed bonus for that, but once the speed bonus goes, it speeds you up. I don't understand that. What's the key to break? You're going to be running around here and you're going to be hearing noises, etc., etc., right? Now, I've not got the sound completely set up yet. It plays at the start, but I've not got it to loop, which I need to do, but that's not a big deal. But you'll notice that I'm looking around the map and I've got to pick up these pickups, right? And once you've picked up all the pickups, basically you'll be given a point in the map that you need to get to. Okay? But as you can see, it isn't actually as easy as you think to find your way around this map. Right now, that's the end of the or an edge of the level. We've got to add in like footsteps and stuff, and as I said, there's no monsters at the moment, right? Because I took them out so that I could basically test running around. Right. 3 weeks. Just over 3 weeks. And take away 3 days for a rebuild, where I rebuilt the whole thing from, I basically downgraded it from Unreal Engine 5 to 4.27. So that was, let's say, 3 days, right? Now, the thing is, there's lots of things I could add here, right? I could add a time limit, right? Like, you've basically got to finish this within a certain amount of time. Right, and I'm completely lost now. Right, so there's lots of little changes you could make very, very easily and simply, right? To make it, or add more to the gameplay or whatever. I'm completely lost. Right, this is one of the things. What I was going to do was I was going to add a marker for the actual player. Right. Right, now, if I'm right, this is the bit we were building, right? And I can basically go around here. And we should come to T-junction. Right, now that's not where I thought it was, but it kind of worked out alright, because now at least I can pick up these, right? Right, now I'm completely lost. Right, there we are, we're back at the start. Right, so now we can go the other way. As I said, there's lots of little things that you could do to like amp up the pressure on the player, right? Now at the moment I've got it set to really pretty easy, right? So I get a speed pickup every, I don't lose anything if I don't pick up anything for like, it's 4 seconds. Right? Now, there's 2 more. Now, this is a good test, actually. There's the 2 there, I believe. And that's the final one. And that takes us back. So that's basically, that's me showing you the end of the game, right? So at that point, you would basically there'd be a point on the map that you would have to get to, right? Or let's say we had, let's say, right, if I play again, I'll show you what I mean, right? These are all gameplay decisions that I need to make, right? But let's say you're in this map, right? What we could do, well, there's any number of things you could do, right? You could set out 4 distinct places on the map, right, where you need to get to, right? And then the player has to get to there, right? Or, alternatively, you could basically select a random place on the map and get them to go there. Alternatively, you could have your 4 places on the map, then you could respawn them or teleport them to a specific place that they need to then get to one of the exits. Or, alternatively, you could tell them to get to an exit, but not tell them which one, which means that it's luck whether they get to the right one first. There's a whole manner of ways you could do this, right? Depending on how much of an idiot or how bad you want to be to the player or how kind you want to be to the player or whatever, right? But what I want to do is I want to create a marker for the player, right? Like an arrow or some sort of arrow that shows you where you are on the map, because I don't know about you guys, but I can get quite disorientated to where I am and which way I'm facing on the map, right? So what we really want is a marker on the map that shows where the player is. Now it's always going to, obviously it's always going to be in the centre, right? But as I says, when you're looking at the map and then you look down at the mini map, it can be quite difficult to orientate your view, right? What do you think, guys? Good idea? Bad idea? And basically I can do that really quick, right? Because our monster already has one, right? And if the monster already has one, we can just copy that, right? So if we go into monsters, right? And well, that's kind of what you're doing by picking up the stakes. Right? So that is actually kind of what you're doing. Now, I'm guessing that I didn't keep it in here, right? But if we look at base monster, and base monster will basically create itself on begin play. It should create, okay, maybe it doesn't. I thought it would have. Okay, I'm an idiot. Should really have this in base monster, but yeah, I mean, you could have, I suppose you're right, you could have something like, maybe you have to pick up, I don't know, holy water, garlic, and something else, and they could be in a chest somewhere on the map, and as well as picking up all the Pac-Man pills, let's say, you need to get those 3 items as well. But I'm just looking at it as a Pac-Man thing right now, right? So there is lots of things you could do, yes, but picking up more things as well as picking up things, kinda, I don't know. Right, where'd I put this? Right, I've completely forgotten where I put these things. They'll be in the HUD. Of course they will be, because they actually go in the HUD. Or no, it won't be there, I don't think. Right, we're gonna have to look in monsters. Right, monsters, where are you? Okay, Mr. Monster. Right. So it spawns BP monster marker. Right, and BP monster marker is in the HUD. Yeah, that's what I said it was. Right, so we'll duplicate that. Except we'll call it BP player marker. Right. And then what we'll do is we'll create a material and we'll call it map player marker. Right. And then we shall go to clear flat icons and we'll find a nice arrow. Right, because we need the arrow to actually spin around with the player. So having something like this is all well and good, but it's not going to show you the direction you're going. So I suppose we should really click on arrow. That would make sense. I want a kind of see. I might end up making something myself, which is basically just like a filled triangle, something like that. right? That'll do us. Right, whatever. Doesn't seem to want to update, but we're not going to worry about that. So we're on our player marker, and if we browse, we can go to player marker, and then we click on our plane, and then we go here. Right, and now we need to actually do this properly, right, by basically saying it is translucent. Go there, save that. And then back to our player marker. Okay, that's cool. And the next thing we need to do is basically this. Copy that. Then if we go to our player pawn, which is here, and have I still got that cube? Yeah, I have. Right, so that cube needs to go. Right, so in our event graph, right, on our begin play, at the end here, we can turn this into a function, by the way, but for the moment, let's not worry about that. Right, we're not going to do that. And we're going to change this to be player marker. Okay. And that's fine, that's fine. And that's probably fine, even though it's not actually a monster, right? We can call it monster, or we can change the name later. But if we go to the event graph here, right, we're basically going to change this. To 0.1. So yeah, that'll work. That's right. So in theory now, we should have a marker under the player. Yay! We don't have a marker under the player. And if I remember rightly, yeah, that's a load of shit. Right, so that's set actor location. Right, and that's because I was a little silly. This is not a BP monster. This is a Pawn Chronicles. Right? And in here, we're going to say ref player. Right? And then we're going to say we can drag this in. Okay. Then we're going to save that. And in here, we are going to refresh this. Save that. Close that. Dismiss errors. And go. Except we're going to move this out of the way. Right, and now you can see our thing, except for one little problem. And that will be solved by doing that. So you'll notice now that we're facing the wrong way, but we are moving. Okay? And our material isn't quite correct. So what we're going to have to do is in our player marker, we're actually going to have to do the rotation as well. Okay? But our plane is going to be rotated 90. And we shall just check this. Right, so that's the way we want it, right? So it's basically plus 90, whatever it is. Right? So we're going to say set actor transform. Right? And we're basically going to split this, and we're going to split the the location, and we're going to split the rotation, right? We're not going to do anything with the scale. We're going to leave that as it is. For the location, we do -10 on the Z, right? And then we plug that in there, and that in there, and then the target is going to be there, and then we didn't need to do that, but we're going to get rotation actor rotation. We're going to split this, and we're probably going to have to add 90 to the Z, but we'll try it the way it is for now. So we press play. And actually, we have to get forward vector, right? Forward vector. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to recombine this, and then I'm going to say make rotator, and actually our rotation is only going to matter on the Z, right? It helps if you plug it in, okay? This is the thing about blueprints, right? If you don't plug them in, nothing happens, right? So it's always a good idea to try and plug it in at the end, because that really helps. Whoa. Whoa. Now, player marker, update marker, plane, collision, none. Don't know why that was reset, but there you go. Don't know why that's doing that. That is weird. let's go back to here. I'm going to set this to -20. Right, hang on a minute. Right, this is actually wrong because this should go in here. I'm a fool. Right, so that's not getting the forward vector. So I'm not going to get the forward vector. I'm just going to get the rotation. Tor. Oh, by the way, Mr. Spock, I added the slight head tilt if you want it. It's in the options now, along with the head bob. So get actor rotation, split the pen, grab that, and we know for here that we might need to add 90, but we'll check out in a minute. Right, so you'll notice that my arrow is spinning as well. Right, and we're basically going to have to add 90 to this value. So basically plus $90. Save that. Okay. We need to take away 90. Actually, I'm thinking here, do I actually need to do anything with this? Because at the end of the day, right, so I'm pointing up the way. And you're always moving basically in the same direction anyway. So, wait a minute. Yeah. Right. Sod that part. We're just doing that. Right. And basically sod that. And that should work exactly the same blooming way. Ah, but it doesn't. Okay, so we actually do need that code. So this code. Right. Right, so that's us, right? Well, what we need to do is we need to go into here, into our plane, and we need to basically cut this down a bit to let's say 1.75, because it's a little too big for the corridors. Save that. And if we press play again, and yep, we like that. Maybe still a bit big actually. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, and bear with me a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do vector 3, right, and then let's say we go hard blue. Right, and then we're going to multiply that and that, and then we're going to plug these into the color and the emissive color, and now if we press play, yeah, that's because we're desaturating it. Right? Okay, we're going to leave it at that. Right. So, if you've enjoyed the stream, hit like and subscribe. We are 3 subscribers short of 500. It'd be great to get there today if we could. And you can check out the description for the Discord and ways to support the channel. Patreon's in there, link to that, and a link to my game on Steam. And I hope you've enjoyed the stream. And we shall catch you at 8 PM Central later tonight. And bye bye for now.